Donald Trump is struggling to adjust to the wild swing in his political fortunes from just 3 weeks ago, and now he's lashing out against cell phone technology for making him sound insane during a disastrous live stream with Elon Musk. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Guys, I know what I'm about to say sounds crazy, but just hear me out. A few weeks ago, Donald Trump was winning comfortably. And that's saying a lot for a man who doesn't even look comfortable when he sits. I mean, if you saw someone sitting like that on a golf course, you'd walk over and you'd say, "You okay, bub?" That guy was winning by a lot. Remember that feeling when you turned off the debate and it felt like you just watched the videotape from The Ring? Then Biden was out and Harris was in and Trump's polling lead vanished faster than a bottle of scotch at Rudy Giuliani's house? What I do is I use a straw from McDonald's because they're wider. It gets the scotch in faster. A little over 3 weeks ago, Trump was leading nationally and in every swing state. He had just survived an assassination attempt, and he made a triumphant appearance at the Republican National Convention with what appeared to be a tiny pillow on his ear. If you zoom in closer, you can see there's also a tiny little Mike Lindell on his shoulder. It's me, little Mike Lindell, introducing our newest product, My Tiny Pillow. We're selling it mainly to insects, dolls, and Ron DeSantis. Trump thought he was cruising. People said it was great. Why are you working on a tiny Mike Lindell impression? I'm like, it'll come in handy. Trump thought he was cruising to victory. Everything seemed to be going his way. The Supreme Court was on his side. One of his criminal cases was dismissed. Sentencing in another was delayed. And his lead in the polls was a steady lead for almost a year and a half. Then in just 3 weeks, all of that changed. And you guys, he's not been handling it well.
According to recent reporting in the New York Times, Trump has been in a foul mood and complaining incessantly about having to start the race over again. The people around Mr. Trump, the Times reports, see a candidate knocked off his bearings.
Harris's rapid rise has left Trump unfocused and unsettled.
Trump spouting wild, fantastical lies about crowd size.
The Republicans are freaking out because Trump can't stay focused.
Trump finds the change from Biden to Harris, quote, disorienting. According to Trump's close allies, his triumphant welcome at the RNC now seems like a foggy memory, almost like it never even happened.
She's closed the polling gap with him in a pretty short amount of time, and he had gotten very used to running against Joe Biden. He is so disoriented.
Trump has been whipsawed by a 7-week roller coaster ride of events.
Welcome aboard, bub. Also, I love when news organizations use words to describe Trump that Trump has definitely never used. My shift in fortunes has been a real whipsaw. My current position is precarious, and I am quite perturbed. Reality, all he's saying is That's how the rest of us have felt for the last 9 years. When Trump was president, getting an alert on my phone was like hearing a door creak in a horror movie. Trump relished the fact that he was in control of the news cycle, but now he's not in control anymore. He's on King to Cobb with the rest of us, puking his guts out and screaming like a goat in a Super Bowl ad. In fact, we got some exclusive footage of Trump's aides showing him the latest polling. Quick side note, we recently found out why that goat was screaming. He saw RFK Jr. coming. Side note within a side note, and I promise we'll get back to that other stuff. We missed the RFK Bear story when we were on our Olympics break, and we haven't had time to circle back to it, and we're not going to circle back to it. Too much is happening, but that's how wild the last 3 weeks have been. A Kennedy running for president picked up a bear carcass off the road so he could skin it and keep it in his refrigerator. Then he put it in the trunk of his car and brought it to dinner at Peter Luger Steakhouse, dumped the carcass in Central Park, and staged it to look like a bicycle accident, causing a police investigation and media frenzy that led to a decade-long mystery. All because he forgot he had a flight to catch and didn't have time to take the dead bear home. Although I don't know why I didn't just try to stuff it in the overhead compartment, because that's not any weirder than what he actually did. And the only reason we found out about any of this was because he confessed to Roseanne Barr, who was as shocked as the rest of us. Anyway, like I said, we don't have time to circle back to it. Anyway, the point is the last 3 weeks have been a roller coaster, but for the first time in his political career, Trump is not in charge of that roller coaster. He's just a spectator, while raucous crowds flock to Harris's rallies, and she surges in the polls and steals the national spotlight. You could hear the desperation in the Trump team's voices when they whine about her positive coverage.
Everybody's making her whatever they need her to be. She's so good looking. She's so smart. She's so wealthy. She's so funny. She's close to her mom. She goes on really cool vacations. She'll never break your heart.
Or to put it another way, Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. Trump is desperate for the spotlight and for some praise or positive coverage from anyone anywhere. That's why he slinked back to Twitter for a disastrous live stream with donor and supporter Elon Musk. And by the way, I know it's supposedly called X now, but him, it's Twitter. But the plan backfired. The plan backfired because the conversation was the worst of all worlds. It was insane, it was a technical disaster, and it was boring.
There were some live stream glitches that caused about a 40-minute delay tonight at the start of former President Trump's lengthy interview with Elon Musk on X.
This is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind.
I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. You know, when I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, the biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. The biggest threat is nuclear warming.
They just let, violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were epic everything.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that,
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums.
Oh, they're coming from insane asylums? How would you know? They're coming from insane asylums, and I would know because so did I. A lot of those people coming across the border, I met them at the break room at Bellevue. They were my buds. I remember one of them said, when I get out of here, I'm going to sneak across the border. And I said, that's cool. I'm going to run for president. And they all laughed. Everybody laughed, except for one guy who was busy stuffing a bear carcass into a suitcase. I'll tell you, that guy was really crazy. By the way, Trump definitely thinks they're coming from insane asylums because he heard they were seeking asylum. And inside his smooth little chug-a-lug brain, he doesn't have room for the idea that a word can mean two things. Also, I like how Musk teed up this conversation as being for open-minded independent voters. You know how independent voters are always looking for good information on the 5th most popular feature of a dying app. Why don't you just hold a roundtable in the chat feature on Words with Friends? But sure, finally, someone speaking to the American voter who believes bacon is too expensive and nuclear war isn't that bad. Also, can we please just go back to this?
North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were epic everything.
Oh my God, they sound like 8th graders watching skateboard fails on YouTube. Did you see that dude try to grind the handrail and land on his nuts? Oh yeah, no, it was epic. Oh, so epic. And the noise he made on impact, it was like this. But presidents can't just be epic, they have to be feared. And Trump made it clear when he was president, he knew how to instill fear in America's enemies.
When other countries that are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And do they fear the American president? Or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear?
I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way.
Did you hear Brad is dating Kamala? No way. Way. She said she's so smart and funny and wealthy and good looking, it won't break his heart. And I said to her, nah. And she said, And I said, you're wrong. And she said, I am not. And I said, R2. And she said, I am not. And then we got into a fight, and now she has to wear a tiny pillow on her ear. This debate was so embarrassing for Trump, he was forced to release his own version of the audio on Tuesday, along with a social media post in which he wrote, my conversation with Elon last night was heard by a record audience. It was really something special. As Elon himself is very special. Aw. And I thank him for such a strong endorsement. Unfortunately, because of the complexity of modern day equipment and cell phone technology, my voice was in certain areas somewhat different and strange. Therefore, we've put out an actual and perfect recording of the conversation. Enjoy. Since when does a cell phone make you sound like your dentures are banging against your tongue? And even if technology was responsible for the sound quality, you can't blame it for you saying the absolute dumbest possible. And we know you were just on a regular-ass phone because you released a photo of yourself doing the live stream. Cell phone technology aside, you thought that was a cool photo to put out? He looks like he's waiting for his Grubhub order. Oh, here comes the little bicycle with my delicious tacos. Here he comes, getting very, oh, wait, now he's starting, no, it's spinning around, is that bad? The bicycle's spinning, oh, wait, it's getting closer, here it comes. Oh, wait, why is it not turning on? Now it's spinning around again. Well, I feel like I'm never gonna get my delicious tacos. These humiliating missteps are only happening because Trump can't coast anymore. A little over 3 weeks ago, he thought he barely had a campaign. Now he actually has to work for it. He's flailing badly. He doesn't have anything to offer except excuses and conspiracy theories. I'm sorry, but you can't blame cell phone technology for making you sound like this. This has been A Closer Look.